Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Making Lean Fly podcast. This one's a really interesting one, and I think to some people could be quite a controversial one. It's called Lean Thinking and the Power of Six Sigma. So my name's Philip Holt, I'm your host, and today I have two real Six Sigma Master Black Belts as my guests. The first being Edwin Berg, who's been on the show before. Hi, Edwin.
Hey, g'day, Philip.
Very nice to have you on again, Edwin. And the second one is a newbie to the show. It's Bill Hanley. Hi, Bill.
Hello, Philip.
Great. It's good to have you on, Bill. As I say, a real Six Sigma Master Black Belt, and I'm sure you'll bring a lot of insight to the show. So just to kind of tee this up, the reason or the theme of this show is around how Lean and Six Sigma are often treated as separate methodologies for business improvement. And it's actually quite common for people to post on LinkedIn and other forums or talk about Lean versus Six Sigma. It's actually a pet peeve of mine when I see Lean versus Six Sigma. However, when Lean thinking is applied at the philosophical level, and that's what we're doing in GK and Aerospace as we make Lean fly, when it's at that level, the practice of Six Sigma becomes an integral part of a lean operating model. And it's on a practical basis, it's our highest level of problem solving. It's the methodology we use for the most complex problems. So in this podcast, what I want to do is really kind of investigate and ask Edwin and Bill to kind of discuss their experiences of using Six Sigma problem solving as a fundamental part and a critical success factor of our lean operating model. So that's the context of it. And, as we always do on these podcasts, we're going to start by, first of all, getting to know our guests a little bit better. I'm going to quickly start with Edwin. Those of you who heard him on the first podcast about what is lean, will already have heard quite a few things about him. So we'll just get a short update on that. So, Edwin, just a very brief introduction to yourself, your role, personal circumstances, and then, I asked you about your personal interest before, but and a fun fact. Perhaps you've got a fun fact you could share that you didn't share previously.
I'll do the best I can, Philip. Hi, everyone. My name is Edwin van den Berg, and I've been working in Lean and Six Sigma since 2005. Became a black belt myself in Six Sigma in 2007. So there's a good portion of my career that's gone on with Lean and Six Sigma. I currently work with GK and Aerospace, been doing so for the last 3 years. And I lead the Lean Academy. So we do hold the body of knowledge around the Lean operating model, which includes a lot of Lean, but it also includes Six Sigma. And in my team, we have globally dispersed a group of people that works solely on Six Sigma problem solving, and I take very much pride in what they achieve for GK and Aerospace by doing so. You asked about a fun fact around me, Philip, that I haven't shared before. And maybe a fun fact is that I really don't enjoy watching sports until it gets to be scientific. So as an example, you can't entertain me with having a field of grass, and 22 people trying to put the ball in the net. Until a friend of mine who owns a company in sports goods came by and said, I have today proven that the shape of the patches of which the ball is put together absolutely influences the accuracy and the precision with which a professional football player can aim the ball towards the goal. And he had done a Six Sigma studies on it, and he had shown significant difference between the different patches that were used to put together a ball. And with that investigation, he was able to convince the Dutch Professional Soccer League to buy his football for the season of 2015 and 2016. So he made a business out of Six Sigma in sports. I really enjoyed that. And that's a fun fact I haven't shared with you before, Philip. How's that?
Well, that's excellent. You've surprised me because we spent so much time together talking about different things. I thought I'd heard all your fun facts, but that's interesting. The only problem I have, and I'll probably offend you both as real believers in statistics, is I heard a statistic recently, which I believe is actually correct, that the England football team And I'll qualify that by saying the men's team, because the women's team are far more successful. So the men's team are actually the best at penalty taking internationally in the world, which nobody would actually believe, because when it comes to the large competitions, they generally fail at penalty shootouts. But apparently, statistically, they are the best. But I think statistics demonstrates that it's about quality, not quantity, right?
Absolutely. It is about quality. That's what Six Sigma does for me. It really makes you able to predict the outcome of processes that are repeatable. We can argue about how repeatable a penalty shooting is, especially when the pressure gets up there. But you know what? We could do a statistical test and compare the English men's soccer team to other great performing teams in the world. Like Spain or Germany, or perhaps the Dutch men's team, and we could get a result and prove that it's statistically significant difference, and prove you right, Philip. So just bring the data.
Let's see. Bring the data. I love that. And Bill, let's move over to you. So maybe give a brief introduction to yourself. I think we may have lost Bill, Edwin.
Sorry, I'm here. So I'm Bill Hanley. I've been with GKN for 2.5 years now, and I am currently the regional lean deployment leader for the eastern part of North America. And prior to that, I was the master black belt for North America.
Yeah. It's great. It's great, Bill, and it's been really fantastic having somebody with your background as a master black belt moving into that lean leadership role for the region and supporting North America. You've brought a different perspective to it, which has been really good. So perhaps you could share a little bit about us in terms of, we always say a fun fact or something that perhaps people at work wouldn't know about you.
Yeah, is that I really don't consider myself a continuous improvement type person. From my work history has been more in operations and functional areas, and I think that when you talk about Lean and Six Sigma as methodologies for driving improvement, they really are. To me, they're the ways you run the operation. So they become the way you work. And therefore, when people say they consider themselves continuous improvement people, I always think, well, I always consider it part of what you do as part of operations, and that's when I think you really see the benefits and the true impact of these methodologies of Lean and Six Sigma coming together is when they become the way you work versus a special program.
Yeah, I love that, Bill. I think that's a really good point that you've started us off with. So I think it's a good segue perhaps into the first question I have around Six Sigma and what is the power of it. So maybe define what is Six Sigma to you, Bill. How would you define it to somebody who's never heard of it before?
Yeah, well, I think in a technical term, Six Sigma is a measure of process capability, right? That allows you to compare different types of data sets under the same microscope of using a sigma value or a z-score to judge the capability of a process. But I think more importantly, for me it's a roadmap for problem solving. And it can be applied to engineering issues. It can be applied to supply chain issues. It can be applied to finance issues, sales issues, anything that has a process that has variation. The Six Sigma roadmap of define, measure, analyze, improve, and control can be applied to solving that problem and improving that process's capability.
I love that explanation, the way you started technically and then really started about the practical benefits of it. So Edwin, I think just pick up on you. Bill said something there about anything that's got a process. Do you think that's one of the misconceptions that we suffer from in terms of applying Six Sigma, that we don't always recognize that everything essentially has a process.
I think you're absolutely right. And it is the repeatable processes, the processes that we run all the time, where Six Sigma really becomes powerful. So Six Sigma to me means trust and knowing what the outcome of a process is going to be. It's a measure of predictability. And of course, when you do Six Sigma problem solving on a process, you're looking at the variations that happen when you run that process and how to control those. And that means that if you really are successful in controlling those variations, you're going to be able to predict more and more accurately what the outcome is going to be, and therefore trust that you're going to deliver what you need to deliver with high quality and in businesses towards customers that are willing to pay for it. So to me, Six Sigma is a way to assure that your business is going to run, and it's going to run to expectation. And you're talking about misconceptions of using Six Sigma and misconceptions of working with processes. Very often people look at processes as technical things. And one of the big misconceptions is that we as people are part of the process. We run the process. We are part of the variation that is always present in processes, and therefore we influence the outcome. So when using Six Sigma, to me, getting insight into what actually drives the outcome of a process, what the people factors are, what the technical factors are, that really is key in making processes work, in making businesses successful, and in eventually making your capability work and work out for the customer.
Thank you. Thanks, Edwin. I think that's really interesting the way you described that. So I guess, the way you described it begs the question to me, and I'm going to ask you this, Bill. If Six Sigma is a way of reducing process variation, why would we then need Lean?
Because I think Six Sigma is very specifically applied to the process, right, and driving improvement in the process. Whereas I think for me, Lean is more about how you run the business. So Lean is bigger. Lean is part. It's daily management. It's using the metrics to drive improvement, but also engaging the broader workforce in eliminating waste and driving efficiency in every aspect of the operation. So, I think Six Sigma and Lean go together hand in glove. But Lean to me is more of the way we work, and Six Sigma is more of specific to problem solving and driving breakthrough improvement.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting because I mean, if we look back to the kind of the genesis of Six Sigma with Motorola and then GE obviously making it very famous, you would say that they kind of ran a Six Sigma program or a Six Sigma way of life within their organization. Would you say that essentially the Six Sigma programs that they ran grew bigger than just a technical methodology and actually became a system, something like we might actually describe as a lean operating model nowadays? What do you think, Bill?
So I suspect that those companies like Motorola and Danaher and these companies that really drive Lean, Six Sigma, Toyota Production System, they have aspects of the Lean operating model in it. I mean, every business has to have a strategy. That's the Hoshin plan that drives right the activities that are happening and the improvement for the organization toward the goals for the shareholders and the leadership. So I think these things they're there. They just may not be formally called lean, right? Many companies they don't use the word lean, right? They call it their operating system, right? We call it ours a lean operating model, but there's a Toyota Production System. There's you know companies make it there. So while it may not be formally there, I'm sure at some level the idea of driving improvement, eliminating waste, having specific goals, and tracking to those goals has to be there for a company to be successful.
That's great, Bill, and I love the way we've kind of said let's keep these podcasts unstructured, because this is the dialogue's gone a little bit differently than I thought, but I love it, because what I think came out of that for me is that we often too much try to put labels on things, and then those labels become different meanings to different people, and you know I'd love to hear what you think, Edwin, because you know Bill just said, you know, different companies might not call it lean, but they've got their own operating system that starts with the overall strategy. How do we deploy that? How do we engage all our people? And how do we use effectively problem solving methodologies to solve our biggest problems? Is that how you see it, Edwin?
I do. In fact, if you take a look at Six Sigma, it's extremely hard to say what makes a Six Sigma project or program a Six Sigma program. Obviously, there is the realm of statistics, the realm of data analysis, the realm of putting a label on the quality of a process and calling that the Sigma quality level. Those are hard mathematical approaches that use data and statistics and mathematical tools to make an underpinning of statements. But if you take a look at what we teach in GKN, and you take a look at our Greenbelt training, in our DMAIC approach, the define, measure, analyze, improve, and control phases of our projects, they include a lot of tools and methodologies that we use in the rest of the lean operating model as well, like voice of the customer. If you do a Six Sigma project, you need to understand what it is that you're eventually delivering to your customer. And you need to take that practical need that the customer has and translate it into something that you can measure, something that you can perform to. And with that, the realm of Six Sigma hard statistics and mathematics and the realm of an operating model that delivers something to a customer, they start to go hand in hand. And it's much more than just voice of the customer, obviously. We use many tools in the lean methodology that we also use in the analyze phase for Six Sigma, like fishbone analysis and root cause analysis using 5 times why. And then there's a gray area where you say in 8-step A3 problem solving, we collect data, we underpin our root causes by showing what the impact is on the outcome of measures that we take. And then with Six Sigma, we actually say, all right, let's prove statistically that there's a significant difference. Other than that, they're the same. So you're absolutely right. It is labels that we put on it to try and give it a name and a flavor to what we are doing. But in real life, it's a gray area, or I would probably say these methodologies, they strengthen each other, and they should and have to be going hand in hand.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're starting to talk here about let's do what's right for the business and not get caught up in terminology, definitions, etc. And kind of getting back to Six Sigma. Six Sigma is a very powerful way, as you've both described, of solving problems and bringing stability into processes. No, it's great. Hey, just to break it up, I'd like to get to know a bit more about you, Bill. So, I of course know you a little from our time working together, but I of course took a look on LinkedIn as well to see if there was any gems there. Now, we've talked a couple of times about the fact that, you know, like a lot of people in GKN Aerospace, we're very privileged to have a lot of ex-military, ex-service people in our business. And obviously you were a captain in the US Army for what was it, about 6 to 7 years. What have you brought from that time in the armed forces into the way that you work nowadays?
Well, I think in the military, you learn to work with people, and you learn that you can't win the battle by yourself, right? That you win it as a team. And working I really enjoyed my time in the military. And the thing I enjoyed the most was working with the other soldiers. And that's something that I enjoy about working at GKN, is that I do think as a lean operating team, we work together to try to drive improvement in the business, but also working in the sites. There's just great people at GKN. People work together to solve the problems, and it's a lot like the military in that respect. It's no one individual can do it by themselves. It does take the group focused on using the right tools to solve the problem to get the right result.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that teamwork. I see that in the way that you work, and it's great that you bring it. And then, as you said, you've had quite a varied career over the years, but there's that red thread of it being about operational, let's say operational excellence. So rather than being a CI guy or a Six Sigma guy, it's about making the operations excellent, using the right tools. And I love the description you gave earlier. So, we've kind of covered a little bit, I think, one of the, let's say, more controversial parts of Six Sigma, which is this constant lean versus Six Sigma. And I think you've between you both, Bill and Edwin, you've kind of, I guess, covered quite a bit of that. But just summarize it, Edwin. Why is it so important to have Six Sigma as an integral part of a lean operating model?
I think Six Sigma as an integral part of the lean operating model is important because Six Sigma gives you the ability to absolutely prove beyond doubt the facts that you're using for decision making. So if you take measures, if you understand that you can trust the data that you're gathering, then absolutely you are able to say, this is true, this is what the variation is going to be, therefore this is what the outcome of the process is going to be when we run it over and over and over again. And if you take real life examples, this is extremely important when you fly aircraft. Because if you take off with your aircraft from London Heathrow Airport, and you want to fly to New York City, you want to be certain that you're actually going to arrive and that nothing's going to go wrong in the process that takes that aircraft out of the sky. So you need to be able to predict, and you need to have something that proves it beyond a doubt, scientifically underpins that there's not going to be any problems, that this process, this system is capable to do what you're asking it to do. And with that, if you take a step back and say, okay, we're running a business, we're running factories, we're building products. How great is it that we can actually prove that we will be able to deliver on time, in full, with the right quality to the customer? That is not just around logistics planning. It's not just around having parts available that fit together. It is around that repeat of that process of assembly, of manufacturing, of delivery, of everything that comes into play. And it needs elements of the lean realm. It needs elements of the supply chain realm. It needs elements across the entire value stream. And it is fantastic that you have a Six Sigma approach that allows you to underpin with mathematics, with science, with absolute proof that it's going to work.
Excellent. Thanks, Edwin. So just changing gears a little bit, I want to understand how becoming a Six Sigma Master Black Belt impacted you personally. So, Bill, let's start with you. What impact has it had on you?
Oh, I think it's had pretty significant impact. It's really opened a lot of doors for me as far as getting to try different things. In my, as you said, my career has been a lot of different opportunities. I've been in engineering, I've been in operations, I've been in supply chain, but I also got a chance to work in sales, in finance, and in human resources, all because of that common, like you said, the red thread of continuous improvement and Six Sigma being something that can be applied to any part of the business. So for me, it's really opened up a lot of doors and given me a lot of opportunities to try different things, which I've really appreciated throughout my career.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Bill. Yeah, great. It's seems to have been very positive impact on your career. And what about yourself, Edwin?
Well, I'm very much the same in how it's impacted my career, but it's also very much impacted my personal life. Very often, I speak with friends and family around what it is that I do for a living, and I realized after having become a black belt first that people have this conception, maybe misconception around it's completely complex what you're doing, and it's very scientific, and we won't be able to understand what it is that you're doing. But whilst going through that journey of becoming a certified black belt and then later becoming a certified master black belt, one of the most important things that I learned is to keep things practical, to be able to translate the practical importance of what it is that you're trying to study and trying to prove. So, speak in normal language. What does Six Sigma really mean? Six Sigma means we have a very, very small chance of things going wrong. And being able to cross those realms of the scientific approach and the practical language and the practical knowledge has an impact in everything that I do. It has an impact in my career when we talk about business problems and take a very high level overview and then need to go deep and try to understand really what what root causes underlie the problem and how to solve them. But it also impacts how I look at the world around me. Let's take a look at traffic. How predictable is a traffic situation? What can we do to make sure that things keep flowing? There's always a little bit of Six Sigma in my mind that says, all right, if these things add up together, if these factors are into play, how does that, well, maybe even a design of experiment way of thinking, if this changes and that changes, are there interactions? Is that going to drive it in the right way, or is it going to drive it in the wrong way? So it has a huge impact if you really can be able to study the Six Sigma way of thinking deeply, and you'll never be able to unsee it anymore once you start seeing it. It is a lot of fun, actually, more fun than many people think.
Yeah, I can hear the enthusiasm, Edwin. It's contagious. It's definitely contagious. And what I think was interesting then as well, you talked about becoming a certified black belt and then a certified master black belt, and I think that's an important point that we've maybe not talked about enough, is that progression, that journey that individuals can take from basically not knowing how to apply Six Sigma statistical scientific problem solving to earning their green belt certification and importantly making significant business impact whilst doing it. Then the black belt, if they choose to progress to that, and then again if they choose to do so, to progress to become a master black belt. So it's a journey, and people can go as far along that journey as is appropriate for them or as they choose to. So it is a journey. And now, the next question I was going to ask was about a success story in applying Six Sigma problem solving. But I guess one of your biggest successes, Bill, as I observe it, is the way you've brought a number of people, many people along on their personal journeys. Could you maybe share a little about that success?
Yeah, I would. One of the things you said we should look at is, a story about applying Six Sigma problem solving as a success story, and that to me is the biggest success story, is when, as a master black belt, you have somebody in the class who's maybe struggling with the green belt material because some of it can be very technical, and then taking the test and sweating the test and passing the test. But then getting through their first project and getting their certification, and when you see that person gain the confidence to go out and do more problem solving and try some more of the tools, and getting people to take that first step and having success with that first step, to me, is what's most rewarding about being in a role as a master black belt or a black belt, where you're coaching and teaching people in the organization to help solve the problems that they face every day and that they need to solve as part of their normal work anyway, right? So we're giving them better tools and more confidence in being able to drive the things that are going to make the business better. And therefore, they're going to feel better about working for the company.
That's excellent. I love the way you described that. It's giving somebody or helping somebody to develop skills and using the tools that are going to help them to do what they're already doing better. So it's not about doing something different. It's about doing something differently. And I really like that Bill. So I guess Edwin, kind of to get to the last question, and I'm going to ask you both this, but let's start with you, Edwin. What advice would you have for someone who wants to apply the power of Six Sigma? Especially as they might hear some of the discussions here, and we're talking about standard deviations and Z scores and design of experiments, and they might be terrified and say, hey, why would I even want to get involved in that?
You think about advice. Sorry, Philip, the line is breaking up a little bit. I thought you were done asking your question.
I was. Sorry, go ahead, Edwin.
No worries. Advice for people that start off on the journey. I think the advice is to trust the process. Six Sigma is not something that is just out there and ungraspable. It is a very structured approach to solving problems. And it's deliberately put into phases that have a logical sequence to them. And within each of the phases, there is a lot of logic in the questions that we ask. So we ask to define the problem very thoroughly for a reason. And don't skip anything that's in there, even though it might be feeling like you're kicking down open doors sometimes. And other times it might be feeling that you can't get to the answer. Give it a try. Go through the steps, because very often we know what we want to achieve. We know the urgency of needing to achieve it for the business, or why we want to do it. But the Six Sigma DMAIC approach gives you the how. It gives you the steps to perform. Trust the process. It's been proven over and over and over again. Where we do it, it works. So join the team. Join the people that do DMAIC. Take every step. Try it out. And consult with people around you, with your black belt coach, your master black belt, and get stuck in, because you'll prove to yourself that when you do it, you start to realize that actually it's much easier than you thought. Sometimes it's not that big of a deal if you can't really answer one of those questions. It basically means there's still an unknown, and you might be able to get some help. Or you might be able to simply move on, even though you're not very certain of the answer to one of the questions. But in the end, the whole systematic approach of DMAIC is going to help you to achieve your goal. So stick with it. My advice, trust the process, walk the process.
Excellent, thank you. And then the same question to you, Bill. What advice would you have for someone wanting to learn and apply the power of Six Sigma?
Yeah, a lot of what Edwin said I agree with, and then I guess to add to that would be you have to work on fixing a problem, right? Find a problem to fix that's important to the business, that's aligned with what you already have to do. I think a lot of people look for a very technical problem versus the most important problem for the business at the time. And then, as Edwin said, get it done. Work through the problem and trust the process. And I think the other side of it is the more you use it, the more you learn. I've been doing this for a long time. And every time I teach a black belt class, every time I coach a green belt or a black belt on a project, I learn something new. So you never stop learning with this. So to think that you're going to get it all in 1 or 2 weeks of training, it doesn't happen. The knowledge comes a little bit at a time as you use the tools, as you use the process.
Excellent, thank you. Two fantastic pieces of advice from two great master black belts. So I'd like to thank you both for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, as it always is. So thank you, Bill. Thank you, Edwin. And to the listeners, remember, it's about changing how you lead, not who you are. Thank you.